Hey, today I'm talking about 3 spaghetti westerns recommended to me in a YouTube comment by user-VC3BD9MC5Y. And the names of those 3 films that he recommended were Cemetery Without Crosses, Face to Face, and One by One. He also recommended a bunch of other ones too, and this is the comment here if you want to see it. Look at it. Thanks, user. I don't know why your name is so long. It seems like a spam account, but it's not, right? Because this is a really in-depth, like, thought-out comment. It's amazing. The ones I'm talking about today are actually pretty good, so I'm probably going to end up watching some of the other ones he did. Thanks, buddy. First up is Cemetery Without Crosses. This is a 1969 Italian/French spaghetti western, and the basic premise is it's a revenge film. So these 3 brothers stole from this local gang because they stole from them, and so they're getting revenge there. But then on their return home, one of them gets murdered by the gang, and so the wife of the dead brother now wants revenge on the gang, so she teams up with a friend of hers, a local gunman, to get said revenge. And it's great. It's so good. The cinematography is great. It's so good. The story is interesting. The acting is great. The music in this film is incredible. I loved every single song that popped up. There was a long stretch of time too where there wasn't any music, and I was like, no, you're doing such a good job with the soundtrack. Keep it going. And then it would, and I'd be like, yeah. Like, legitimately, this is one of my favorite scores of the year, hands down. Like, this is probably right behind the Batman, which is probably still at #1. It's so good. Ugh. This movie also does a really good job of telling its story visually. Like, there's so many just like looks between characters where like normally they would have a discussion. In this movie, it's just 2 characters looking at each other for like 30 to 90 seconds. And it works most of the time. If I was gonna complain about anything, I wish we just got like a little bit more dialogue. Like, I'm a person who is definitely a fan of like lack of dialogue, like let stuff just kind of play out. There's way too many, especially modern movies, that just like have to be non-stop talking. Like, if no one's talking, the movie's not happening. And it definitely works. I just wish we got just a sliver more of dialogue, just a little bit more like actual story spelled out. But honestly, the movie's great. I love it. It's such a good movie. I definitely recommend it. You're in for a really good time. Especially recommend it if you love westerns, but even if you're not like the biggest western fan, it's just a really good, solid, well-told movie. Just give it a watch. Next up is Face to Face. This is a 1967 Italian/Spanish film, and the basic premise is this professor of history is kind of sick and is either taking a sabbatical or like forced retirement thing, and whilst he is away from school, he kind of comes across this gang situation and maybe gets involved in some way. I'll just kind of leave it vague like that. Now, this movie is probably better than the last one. The cinematography is fucking amazing. Like, it is hands down incredible. It is so well done. And like, the acting is great, the design of everything is great, the story is really interesting. My issue though stems from the dubbing. I had to watch this dubbed, which really sucks. I hate when that happens. I wish I could have watched this in Italian, because I really think something got lost in that translation that I really struggled to follow the story. I think part of that could just be because of just like the way dubbing sounds just doesn't work with my brain, that it just doesn't like implant. Like, I lose short-term memory or something with it. I don't know. I don't understand it. I just know that dubbing doesn't always work for me. And like, with how freaking incredible everything else was with this movie, like from top to bottom, it's just so good that I have to imagine that if I were to watch this in the original Italian with subtitles, I would have followed it a lot better, totally understood it more, and it would have clicked for me. I would still recommend it, even if you could only find the dub, because I feel like my dubbing issue isn't an everyone dubbing issue, but I would more so recommend it in Italian if you can find it. I definitely will be looking for it and trying to watch it again as soon as I possibly can, because it's really freaking good. It's just those stupid dubs. Ugh. And lastly is One by One. This is a 1968, also Italian/Spanish Western. And the basic premise of this one is this young man comes across this Mexican who was with his father when he was murdered. So they team up to get revenge on the men who murdered his father. Yes. Now this movie is okay. What I will say right away is the action. Anytime there's like a fight scene or something, it's great. It does a really good job with all of that stuff. The story itself I thought was fine. The performances were fine. The main pretty boy was alright. I do kind of feel like this movie's like trying to hinge on its twist ending, which didn't really work for me because I kind of just assumed that was a thing. And then we get to the end and it's like, this big moment's happening. And I'm like, oh, okay, I kind of assumed that. I know that kind of sounds pretentious, but yeah, I'll live with that. It sounds pretentious. I'm pretentious there, whatever. Yeah, so it's fine. Like, I still enjoyed it. It was good and cute, whatever. Like I said, the action was good. I really wasn't that blown away by any of it. Would I recommend it? I mean, if you're intrigued, yeah, sure, go for it. But there's kind of other spaghetti westerns I would rank before this one. It's good, it's fine. It's just not my favorite. Alrighty, now for today's rankings. First up, we got Cemetery Without Crosses, sitting at number 56 in the Really Like section. And then after that, not too terribly far behind, is Face to Face, sitting at number 81 in the Quite Like section, right at the top of the Quite Like section, just behind Old Boy. And bringing up the rear is One by One, sitting at number 187 in the Liked category. And this is out of a total of 270 old movies so far this year.